Hello, General Math students. Today we are going to work on lesson 1.4, multiplying integers. Please have your math notebook and pencil out so that you can take notes when you need to. Label the top of your page 1.4, multiplying integers. And here we go. You don't have to write this part down. This part is just showing you on a number line how to do multiplication. It's basically repeated addition. So we're going to do 3 times 2. We're going to start at 0 like we always do. And we're going to jump 2 3 times. So we're going to go 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. We end up on 6. 3 times 2 is 6. We do the same thing with negative numbers. Now we're going to do 3 times a negative 2. So again, we're going to start at 0. We're going to move negative 2 places 3 times. So we're going to go negative 2, another negative 2, and a third negative 2. And we end up on negative 6, which is our answer. So let's try it on our number line. This is what we are going to be moving, and this is how many times we're going to move it. So we're going to start at 0. We're going to move negative 1 3 times. So literally 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Our answer is negative 3. 3 times a negative 1 equals a negative 3. Let's do another one. 2 times. We're going to move negative 4. Starting at 0. Whoops, let's try starting at 0 versus 1. Starting at 0, we're going to go to negative 4 1 time. Negative 4 more another time. My answer is negative 8. We can do it with integer chips as well. I want this many groups of this number. If I try spelling right. So I'm going to make 2 groups of 3. So here's a group of 3 and here's a group of 3. So 2 groups of 3 equals 6. We can do the same thing with negative. We want 2 groups of negative 3 negatives. So I'm going to have 3 negatives, there's a group. 1, 2, 3 negatives, there's a group. Altogether, I have 6 negatives, and that is my answer. So we can go down and find a pattern. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. Got that. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Negative 3 times 1 is 3. Negative 3 times 0 is 0. Any number times 0 is 0. Notice our pattern. Negative 9 to negative 6 to negative 3 to 0. We're going up 3 each time. So if I continued our pattern, we have 3 and 6. Notice I have 2 negatives and my answer is positive. Here we go. This goes into your notes, please. Multiplying integer rules. Here we go. First one is easy. Anytime you do a positive times a positive, you get a positive. Just like addition, anytime you do a negative times a negative, you get a positive. I started writing the wrong one. You get a positive. Positive times a negative, here's where you get a negative answer. And a negative times a positive, just turning them around, you also get a negative. Please make sure you put this in your notes. It is different from addition. Pause the video if you need to keep going. You can also remember it this way. Same signs. Addition, positive plus times a positive and a negative times a negative Happy faces, smiling, positive answers. Yay! But if the signs are different, a positive and a negative, or a negative and a positive, then they're sad, and it is a negative answer. If that's one way to remember it, please use it. So let's do some practice. -7 times 2. You do your normal multiplying. 7 times 2 is 14. I have a negative and a positive, so my answer is negative. 3 times 8 is 24. Positive times a negative, my answer is negative. Negative times a negative, I know my answer is going to be positive. 9 times 2 is 18. 3 numbers, same thing. Let's start with 2. Positive times a negative, my answer is going to be negative. 7 times 3 is 21. Now multiply that by the -2. A negative times a negative equals a positive. 21 times 2 is 42. We can do word problems the same way. On a cold Minnesota winter day, it is -7 degrees outside. On that same day, it is 3 times colder in Alaska. So 3 times that -7. 3 times 7 is 21. Positive times a negative is negative. So it is -21 degrees in Alaska. Miss Marshall has a dinosaur collection. Every year she gives away 4 of her dinosaurs. That would be a -4. I'm going to put it right up here. -4. If she does this for 8 years, so I'm going to multiply it by 8. What is the change in the number of dinosaurs in her collection? A negative times a positive is a negative. 4 times 8 is 32. She has -32 dinosaurs. Negative means it goes down. Let's do one where you have multiple choice. You have A or B. Which situation represents the problem 4 times -2? Remember from our problems up at the beginning of the lesson, this is how many times we're going to do it, and this is the number. So 4 times, it's a -2 where it goes down to. So loses 2, 4 weeks in a row, or 4 books for 2 hours. It's letter A. 2 loses 2, there's your -2. 4 weeks, there's your 4. We can also use repeated multiplication when we do exponents, and here you have to watch the parentheses and the negatives. This is a big deal, so please make sure when you're putting these into your notes, you watch this. So let's go ahead and do the first one. I've got -2 in parentheses and an exponent of 3. That means I'm going to do this 3 times. So I'm going to multiply it by itself 3 times. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. Now we can do the math. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. I got a negative times a negative gives me a positive, and a positive times a negative gives me a negative. Let's do the next one. -5 in parentheses, multiply by itself 2 times. There's 1, there's 2. So here we go. 5 times 5 is 25. Negative times a negative is a positive, so we're done. Letter C. -6 in parentheses to the power of 1. So we're only going to do it 1 time, so that just leaves it as -6. Letter D. -4 to the power of 2. So I'm going to do -4 times -4, 2 of them. 4 times 4 is 16. Negative times a negative is a positive. Now, up until here, we've had parentheses. So we've put the negatives in parentheses. Here we have no parentheses. I'm going to shorten that. No parentheses. So basically what I'm doing is 4 squared. So 4 times 4, which gives me 16. Then make it a -16. Same thing with the next one. 2 times itself 3 times. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8, but then I make it negative. Negative 5 to the power of 2, so I'm going to do 5 times 5, which gives me 25, then put the negative sign in front of it. So this is almost a two-step problem. The first time you do your multiplication with your exponent, and then you put in the negative. But up here with parentheses, you do the negative number times itself. We did this with addition and subtraction. We're going to do the same thing with multiplication. So we have to plug in our numbers. X is negative 2. Y is 3. Negative 2 times 3 gives us a negative 6. Absolute value, so we have to do everything inside first. X squared, so it's negative 2 squared, times y, which is 3. So let's start with the negative 2 squared. It's like saying negative 2 times another negative 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Negative times a negative is a positive. So this is 4 times 3 is 12. Absolute value of 12 is 12. A little bit longer one down here. X, y. X times y. So I got negative 2 times 3 minus y again, which is 3, times z, which is a negative 8. So let's start with the front half. Negative 2 times 3 is a negative 6, minus, now we do the back half, 3 times 8 is 24, but it's a positive times a negative, so it's negative 24. So subtraction, I'm going to double dash 1, 2, so it's actually negative 6 plus 24. The 24 has a larger absolute value, so it's going to be a positive 18. Let's do the letter D, x squared. So negative 2, and I'm going to put it in parentheses, squared, plus y, which is 3. So let's start with negative 2 squared. Negative 2 times negative 2. We did that up here, so we know we have 4 plus 3 is 7. I would show your work and show all the steps. So now that we've gone over everything, your homework is the 1.4 worksheet after this video in GoFormative. You're going to do that, enter all of your answers, and it is due by the time you come to class next time. This week, you have 3 things that you are going to be doing, whether it's in class or distance learning. Number 1 is this lesson and worksheet on multiplying integers. Then we're going to do lesson 1.5, dividing integers. And finally, at the end of the week, you are going to do an integer operation review. You're going to review addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. If you have any questions, go back and watch the video again or parts of it again. Otherwise, message me and I will try to answer your questions. Have a great week.